Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Back Your Play with Q. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones. We are powered by our good friends at Play It Again Sports, Matt Laurel and Defford, and of course, our wonderful friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. Check the show notes below. Fresh Roasted Coffee, you'll save using the promo code BYP20. And with the weather still very cold and nasty up and down the East Coast, why not have a nice little cup of Joe, a little Java, a little cafe con leche, if you will, from our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. Speaking of good friends, our guy, our NFL insider, Lloyd Vance, host of Lloyd Vance's Insider Football and Sports Radio 1029 FM. The Game, part of Coastal Sports Network. You catch him every Monday, 8 to 9. And of course, he joins me during the week on the Drive with Q. And then there were four conference championship Sunday: Kansas City, Buffalo in the AFC, Philadelphia and the upstart Washington Commanders in the NFC. And my friend, let's start with the NFC side. Washington, very upstart, rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels, new head coach Quinn, turning the culture around, getting rid of that toxicity, if you will, with Daniel Snyder and the like. And I will say this as I kind of throw it to you. Snyder, by the way, has probably just got to be going nuts right now, knowing that this franchise has turned around big time. But Eagles are laying, as of Friday, it was 6. It's dipped down to 5.5, which tells you maybe a little bit of money moving. Total is 47.5. There's always the path to victory. So we'll start with the Eagles side as we kind of keep it simple on a Saturday. What do the Philadelphia Eagles need to do to win this game on Sunday?
Well, first and foremost, too, they got to run Saquon Barkley. I mean, he is an engine and has made the team go all season. And in the two games that they played against Washington, the first one where the Eagles won 26-18 in week 11, he had 26 rushes, 146, two TDs. Even in the week 16 loss, he had 29 rushes, 152 TDs. So, he is the guy that's making this team go. The only thing is, though, Q, the Eagles center, Cam Jurgens, probably is not going to play in this game. He has had a back injury. He's questionable. They have put Dickerson from guard over to center. He has experience there. So they do got to get Saquon going. But also, the big question in the room all week, I've been talking to friends, family, Eagles fans about Jalen Hurts. And,
Yep.
can he pass his team to victory? So he's got to find a way, first of all, not to get sacked as much as he did last week. He took 7 sacks in the win, and he's got to make sure that he's protecting the football. We know that turnovers are huge, but I think that's the biggest thing for the Eagles. And let's not forget about the defense, obviously. One of the NFL's best, allowing only about 18 points per game.
Yeah, the run defense for Washington, conversely, we know it's not very good. I mean, you saw Tampa Bay should have taken more advantage of it. They didn't. Detroit did, but they didn't do it consistently. And you're talking about Saquon averaging about 6.5 over his last couple games per carry. They should establish that run. Defensively with Vic Fangio having the familiarity, playing Washington, understanding now, seeing Jaden Daniels twice. It'll be a third time on Sunday. The adjustments, I think, if anything, they have to be wary of the blitz because Jaden Daniels, you look at his player props and his rushing yards, sits around 72, 73. People think he might have a big game rushing, using his legs, keeping drives alive. I believe that's going to be the case. So are you dropping back in coverage, or are you rushing for? Or are you going to have a spy on Jaden Daniels? How would you play that?
Yeah, if I'm Vic Fangio, I definitely got to make sure that you keep Daniels in the pocket. Do not let him break contain. And I think they will kind of try to spy him with Zach Bond. Last time these two teams met in week 16, Jaden Daniels ran 9 times for 81 yards, a lot of times moving the chains and
Yep.
getting first down. So, they're going to have to keep an eye on him. I think a big thing is the Eagles pass rush up the middle, particularly Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. They got to get some heat in the middle of that line, Milton Williams. And I think that'll do they probably should play pretty well because Cosme is out with the ACL for Washington. And then the middle of their line's kind of average at best.
Yeah, listen, if you can get Carter for over a sack plus, I would definitely take it. We know Saquon, anytime touchdown, multiple touchdowns. His rushing prop is extremely high. It's well over 130, which is one of the highest that some of these books, covers, FanDuel, DraftKings, they've shown for a while or historically. I think Daniels is going to be able to throw the ball. I don't like him throwing over 300 yards. I think it's going to be under 283. If he's throwing for 300, that pretty much tells me they're probably playing from behind. Zach Ertz should have a couple catches in this game if that's a prop that you're looking at over. He might have an impact. Terry McLaurin might have an impact. And then we talk about these wide receivers. AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, especially AJ Brown, he's been quiet. It seems as though the quiet before the storm. Do you expect AJ Brown, knowing that that secondary Washington's not the best, they're not very stout? Can you foresee a scenario where the Eagles are force feeding the ball to AJ Brown early to try to get him in rhythm?
Well, they could, because they have to keep him happy. He only had two catches for 14 yards last week, and but the only thing is their path to victory is their running game. And if they get too
I
pass
agree.
happy, sometimes that kind of lends into jail and making mistakes and putting the ball, forcing the pass after saying, double, triple coverage into AJ Brown and the Eagles should stick to their identity. But it is going to be interesting because Washington, their secondary, they have Chin and they don't really have much else back there. I know Lattimore's back there as well. He's healthy again, but defensively, they're a little beat up. Bobby Wagner, their middle linebacker, he has an ankle injury. So, a lot of pieces in play when Washington's on defense.
Saquon Barkley over 24 and a half rushing attempts at minus 120. Do you feel he'll get his 25 plus touches?
I believe yes. That one more is going to say, you know what? Saquon's our guy. He's our MVP. He's been driving the car all season, so why not stick with him now? We did talk about reshuffling their offensive line. It's Steen coming in there, and Jurgens being out. So it's going to be interesting how they play. But Saquon's been running clean, and we talked about this over and over again. Becton and Lane Johnson on that right side. That's where the Eagles like to go. And those huge runs last week, 62-yard touchdown, 78-yard touchdown were behind those two behemoths.
Eagles' last five games, first score has been an Eagles touchdown. They won 14 of their last 15. They won 14 of their last 20 as favorites, which is 70%. They've been the first to 20 points in their last 15 games. They've been the first to 21 points in their last 14 games. They've scored first in each of their last six games. We always talk about the offense being slow. Here's an interesting number, though. 5-14 and 2 ATS when the defense allowed 20 or more points since the start of last season, which dips around 24%. They are 16-5 and 2 ATS when their defense allowed fewer than 20. This kind of tells you right now that if you look at the implied team total, if it's sitting minus 162, 163 with Washington, they believe they're going to score 19. That's not going to get it done. The Washington Redskins need to score at least 27 points in this game. That's what I believe. Daniels 5-3. ATS is an underdog this year, and they failed to cover the spread 7 of their last 12 games against teams with winning records. We know about the record that the Eagles had. I think you throw some of that out the window because it is the NFC Championship. Now you look beyond the game. We're talking about it in the trenches. From a pressure standpoint, Philadelphia Eagles can ill afford to lose this game. Detroit's bounce, Green Bay's out, Minnesota's bounce. Other teams had a down year in the NFC. It's right there for the Philadelphia Eagles. If they were to lose, no disrespect to Washington, because I went on the record on the drive on Friday's show and I picked them to win this game. But if the Eagles lose this game, it's a colossal failure.
Yeah, you're talking about the number two seed in the NFC, and you're playing against a Washington team that, they got into playoffs, I think, is number six, and the Eagles are at home. They're favored.
Yep.
I went back to, roster check, way back to when we looked at the season. I looked at every single roster, relooked at these two. And the Eagles, man for man, they're probably better than Washington at every position other than quarterback. So they have a distinct advantage, particularly at their offensive line. Saquon, they have two receivers who they really haven't been using. Now, Dallas Goedert is banged up. He has an ankle. We'll see if he's able to play in this game. But the Eagles, offensively and defensively, especially up front, have a key advantage.
So I look at this and Washington, the cardiac commanders, right? They've been the cardiac kids at the end of the day, and they've been winning games left and right. Daniels has been making big time plays. You go back to that Bears game, you go to Tampa, Detroit. They just blew them out. They were 4-point underdogs in both matchups against the Eagles. Totals closed at 47 and 49. I like this to be a 27-24 type of game. If you go back to that 16 matchup you mentioned, Daniels went off 5 touchdown passes. Hurts did not play in that game. He was knocked out with a concussion. I feel as though if they stack the box and they dare Hurts to beat them and not get beat by Saquon, they might be able to turn Jalen Hurts over. Now, they have to play mistake-free football. They have to win the battle of special teams and flip the field, and they have to establish the run. I mean, that's to me is their path of victory at the end of the day. People thought their Cinderella story was going to end in Tampa and then in Detroit. I just feel as though they're going to hang around, in the fourth quarter, and it's going to get a little dicey with the fan base in Philadelphia, and you might see a turnover, and then all of a sudden Daniels makes a play late with his legs. Here's an X factor. Don't be shocked if you see a late third down conversion by Zach Ertz, but I'll go on the record. I believe I had a 27-24 Washington. I'm going to stand by that. I'm going to back my play on that. I like Washington tomorrow.
And I've been back and forth on this, and Joe Witt and Dan Quinn in charge of that defense for Washington. They do got to devise a scheme to kind of take the ball out of Saquon's hand to make Jalen beat him. But in the end, you and I talked about the rookie quarterback, and can Jaden Daniels become the first rookie quarterback to go to the Super Bowl? He does have that ability, but I just believe it's the Eagles' time, and it'll be a home game. And the key thing though is Jake Elliott. Jake Elliott's a little shaky kicking the football. I think that may, give some agita to some of the Eagles fans. But I think in the end, the Eagles win this one in a close one, 23-20.
All right, let's take a look at the AFC side of the ball, AFC Championship. And obviously, everyone's looking at Kansas City. Can you get back to the Super Bowl and make it 3 straight years, which would be unprecedented, trying to win back to back to back? We know they're the favorite. We know they're at home. We know they have a big time offense. They haven't really been blowing anyone out. But again, here's your matchup. Buffalo, Josh Allen, arguably the MVP. Bills on the road. You got to battle the hostile environment. Arrowhead, Kansas City, the mystique, the refs, and a 2-point line that Kansas City is laying. Give me your first thoughts on this game.
Well, this is the Bills' chance to prove it. And Josh Allen, can they step up to the heavyweight division and go into Kansas City, back up what they did earlier this season? Yes, Week 11. They were able to win in Buffalo. Big win for them, 30-21 over the Chiefs, and kind of got the monkey off the back. But in the playoffs, Josh Allen is 3-0 versus Patrick Mahomes. So this is, 0-3 versus Patrick Mahomes. It's just a big spot for the Bills, and I'm just not sure. It's hard to bet against Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, the best coach, best quarterback in the playoffs. So that's my first thought.
Saturday edition of Back Your Play. We are powered by our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. 20% off the promo code BYP20. I'm your host, Rich Quinones. Lloyd Vance, kind enough to join us on this Saturday edition. Don't forget, you can definitely check us out, tune in. You can find us on Spotify, Amazon Music, Buzzsprout, Podchaser, and Podcast as well. I look at this game, and I believe this is a Josh Allen game. This is a legacy career-defining game for Josh Allen. I mean, even if you look at it, that 2.5, you got the hook here and there. I just think Buffalo is on a mission this year, and I think Kansas City's leaking oil. I equate it to the bad boys in the 90s of the Detroit Pistons in the NBA, where they just got old. They had a great run, wonderful run, but then guys get older, and you might turn back the clock. There might be a moment here and there in this game tomorrow, but I think Allen's going to have one of these games where not only is he going to keep them in the game with his legs, but he's going to keep them in the game with his arm as well. Give me your thoughts on Allen.
Allen's definitely got to put on a Superman cape. I mean, week 11, he did a great job in terms of 27 of 40 and for 262 throwing the football on a TD. But it was his legs that really won that battle. 12 rushes, 55 yards, 1 TD, and it's going to take that type of effort. The Bills are a high-scoring team. I don't think the weather is going to be a huge factor in this one. So the Bills, they were second in the NFL, 31 points per game scored, and that's what they may have to do. But Spagnuolo on the other side, he's trying to dial up the pressure, and the Bills line is they have a few pieces like Deion Dawkins is all pro, but some of the other guys kind of are middle of the pack. But it's going to be fun to see Ken Mahomes continue this role that he's been on, particularly one-score games, 16 straight wins, and Andy Reid has been making all the right decisions in Kansas City, and it's going to be fun to see Sean McDermott lock horns with him.
Yeah, there's not a lot of value with a Josh Allen anytime touchdown at -120. I mean, he's scoring left and right. Then you have Patrick Mahomes over 25.5 rushing yards. That's -111. Again, I'm looking for the plus numbers like James Cook over 56. It's still a little juice. I don't really see anything that stands out. Shakir, 109 over 56 receiving yards. Pacheco typically, again, they eased him back to action, but I think he's going to get more into the flow in this one. They're going to start him off. I can see him hitting over 39. Now, here's a long shot prop. Here's a long shot prop. Mac Hollins scoring two plus 7,000. Now think about this. Scoring two touchdowns isn't crazy, right? You got a big bodied wideout. He's perfect. End zone target. He might be one of the best red zone threats on the field on Sunday. So him out jumping somebody here and there, you'd lay a couple dollars on that at plus 7,000. That's not bad. Now, I might be a little goofy. I don't know if I'm going to 100% back my play on that, but the Kelsey with his receptions and over yards, we know he's going to hit that. Buffalo's defense has to key on him. They got to watch Pacheco, and you can't let Mahomes out of the pocket. Anytime he slips out of the pocket. The other thing is, the elephant in the room is third down, 3rd and 13. Mahomes breaks the pocket, and he starts to ease up near the sidelines. How are the refs going to officiate this game, in your opinion?
Yeah, well, I think you and I talked about the referee crew that's going to work this, and in the past, the Chiefs kind of had some difficulty with them, but I do expect them to always protect quarterback, particularly Mahomes, first and foremost, and it's going to be up to Matt Milano and those guys, Von Miller, to be smart in terms of when they hit him, and you they need to know when they're going in there, they're facing a hostile crowd, and then more than likely the referees are going to favor Mahomes with the Mahomes rules, where you can't hit him that too hard, you can't put your full body weight on him, etc. So, but I think it's going to be a great scoring battle, and I think it's really going to come down to the team that plays better defense, and a lot of people are not talking about this Kansas City defense. Bolton and the rest of those guys, Chris Jones, Karlaftis, they've done a great job. They've got Watson back at the cornerback position. So Buffalo is at full strength, and the Chiefs are at full strength. And then you have Buffalo on the other side. Taylor Rapp is not going to play for them. Their safety. So he had that big turnover last week, and they may miss him. So I'm interested in the defensive side of the ball, and also who's going to run the ball effectively. And obviously, turnovers are going to be key in this game.
So here's some stats if we debunk the refs favoring the Chiefs narrative, and this is from PFF and also NFLpenalties.com. So the Chiefs earn home field advantage, right? Okay, here we go. If there was a true conspiracy to make sure the Chiefs advanced to the Super Bowl again, Clete Blakeman would not be the official. 2018 KC 12-4 in Patrick Mahomes' breakout MVP season. They were only 1-2 in Blakeman assignments, including the shootout loss to the Rams and an AFC title game loss to the Pats. 2019, they wwere 12-4 and won their lone game that Blakeman was refereeing or part of the crew. 2020, Chiefs were 14-2, 1-2 record when Blakeman did their games, though Mahomes didn't start one of those matchups. 2021, Chiefs were 12-5, losing only Blakeman game, a big matchup versus the Ravens in week 2, which was a phenomenal game. 2022, 14-3, Blakeman 2-0 in that time. 2023, they were 11-6, but lost their one game to the Raiders on Christmas. If you recall, Blakeman refereed that game. The Raiders were able to run the football. So, it's kind of like debunking, and then you talk about the unnecessary roughness penalties that are called in their favor. The Bills led the league in 2024 with such penalties, 12 for 151 yards. The Chiefs were tied for second fewest in the league with 2, gaining only 30. The Chiefs do not get cheapies. That's what everyone thinks. But again, do the wide receivers get too many calls? Here's from what I gathered during the week and doing my research, and just the listening audience and the viewers and the commenters and the texters on the drive with Q Monday to Friday. Everyone was chiming in. It's not so much the discrepancy in flags or lack thereof. It's the timing of the flag, right? Up 3, up 4, 4-minute drive, 3rd and 16. He breaks the pocket and he picks up 10, but there's a roughing the passer, and all of a sudden they kick a field goal. Now they're up 2 scores. Like, it's the timing of these penalties, I feel. And I think Buffalo is going to have to overcome that adversity early. If there's a bad call, you just got to deal with it. But I'm telling you, I believe Josh Allen's legs are going to be an X factor. I feel this is his time. I believe he's going to try to will his team to win. I don't think they're going to be able to run the football. And Kansas City's run defense got a lot more stingy. But I don't want to see this game come down to a bad penalty or two. I want a clean officiated game. But Buffalo has to understand, you might have an opportunity here, which it kind of goes back to the other game too, not to, stretch my thought out, but when you get into these games and you've got a tight game in the fourth quarter, and am I going to be aggressive? if Washington's down, 5 with 5 to go, and they're on their own 38 and possessions are scarce, does Quinn go for it on 4th and 3? If McDermott is up 3 or up 4 and he realizes I can the knockout blow on the 30 of Kansas City, I don't want to line up for a 47-yarder and it's 4th and 2. Do I go for it? Like, I believe that will play into how these games unfold on Sunday. Like the coaching late and the coaching when it comes to being aggressive, not being aggressive.
No, you're right. And you go back to week 11 when Buffalo played Kansas City, it was over my dead body play was, Allen, I think it was third or fourth down. He had to have it, make it a two-score lead, and he bust contain and he runs into the end zone. And that's the type of effort that they're going to have to give this week for the Bills. They're going to have to, balls to the wall. I mean, this is it. This is their last chance. And that when you look at the rosters, we talked about it in other matchups, same kind of thing. Buffalo kind of deficient in the receiver area. Cooper, they have not gotten him involved. Kincaid and Knox, they really haven't been using them much. And they do have a pretty good running attack, but I think in most of the key areas, you would say that the Chiefs are a little better, particularly up front on the offensive and defensive line. Now, the key thing is, though, Thuney is going to play left tackle for the Chiefs, and they're trying to, change things around up front for them. So that's something you got to watch. Epinesa and the rest of those guys up front for the Bills have got to get home. They got to pressure Patrick Mahomes. Think about when he lost the Super Bowl.
Yep.
They got pressure in his face, and he does not like it. You got to hit him. The flags may come, but you got to hit him, put a body on him every chance they can get, and they need a physical game.
Yeah, it's a good point. Tampa Bay absolutely harassed them. Again, Lloyd Vance joining us Saturday edition of Back Your Play, powered by Fresh Roasted Coffee, BYP20. That's your promo code, save 20%. We are part of Leon Media Group, and you can also catch us Monday to Friday, The Drive with Q. Lloyd, every Monday, 8 to 9. Lloyd Vance's Insider Football on Sports Radio 1029 FM, The Game. All right, I went 27-24 in the first game. I like the road team. I'm going to do the same thing, but 27-23. I mean, I think Buffalo, I just think it's their time. I think it's been a hell of a run, and eventually champions get dethroned, right? I mean, you go back late 80s, early 90s, San Fran, back-to-back, Giants going to Candlestick. They have Jeff Hostetler. They have the fake punt. You might see something like that tomorrow where you pull out all the rabbit out of the hat, so to speak, and they won on 5 field goals. And Matt Barr, they knocked out Montana. Young came in. You got the Roger Craig fumble. And Matt Barr kicked 5 field goals. They went 15-13. And Madden with the great words, there will be no three-peat, right? I mean, I think we're getting that tomorrow. I think by 6:30, Washington Faithful is going to be like, oh my God, we can't believe we're going to the Super Bowl. And Bills Mafia is going to be like, oh my God, we can't believe we're going to the Super Bowl. And you'll have a rematch of a game back in the day in the 90s and whatnot. It's just when Washington beat Chicago on that Hail Mary, you can define it as a fluke play, but it reminds me of it was even though they lost, I think, the week after, but then they went on a run, it catapulted their season. Like 2011, the dream team you always revert back to. The Giants go into Philly and Victor Cruz goes off. That catapulted their season. A couple years ago, Jake Elliott, I'll still question the timing with a second left, but Elliott's leg beats the Giants, conversely enough, and it catapults them, right? I feel as though Washington, it's their time, and maybe they arrived at it a little early, and for Buffalo, it's long overdue. So that's where I'm going. Give me your thoughts on the AFC. Make it official.
See, I picked the Chiefs way back in August to have the three-peat. I guess I got to stick with it, but this is going to be a tough game. This is not going to be an easy one, and the Chiefs, they keep living on the edge. It may be a block kick because Bass has kind of had an up and down season for the Bills. Some kind of fluke play like that. You got to watch the turnovers. But I think in the end, Mahomes and Andy Reid, the best coach and quarterback in the playoffs, will find a way to win this one. Another one-score win. I'll go with the 27-21 victory. Josh Allen may have the ball in his hands at the end, and maybe Reid or one of the other playmakers on the Chiefs has to make a play.
All right, you like the home favorites. I'm going with the Road Dogs on Championship Sunday. This is another edition of BYP. Don't forget Spotify, Amazon. You can check us out Monday to Friday on The Drive with Q, 4 to 6 on Sports Radio 1029 FM, The Game. Lloyd Vance proceeds. That's later on in the night with Lloyd Vance's Insider Football. Give him a follow on X at Lloyd Vance, 8 to 9 every Monday. Does a great job and joins me during the season on the Drive with Q, as well as BYP, again, powered by our good friends at Fresh Roasted Coffee. Enjoy some coffee on a Sunday while watching Championship Sundays. Lloyd is going with the home favorites. I'm going with the underdogs because the dogs are always a great story. All right, my friend, appreciate you jumping on board and back your play, and best of luck with your bets if you so desire.
Dude, thanks for having me on.